In 2024, I am not voting for Donald Trump because he is not temperamentally fit for office. He is someone who does not respect the law and, in fact, has shown that he will take every opportunity he can to bend, manipulate, or even break the law.
These are all former Trump supporters who have decided to not vote for Trump in 2024. After jumping on the Trump train last time, they've now decided to switch tracks, maybe to a quieter, less problematic route. Is it the endless tweets, the chaotic rallies, the so-called debate, obviously the debate, or perhaps they've just developed a sudden appreciation for sanity? Let's dive into why these former fans are now giving Trump a hard pass in 2024. Why not Trump?
I think in a second term, he would be focused mainly on retribution. The issues we'd have with him in the Justice Department and trying to use it to go after his political opponents would be overwhelming and distracting. I just don't think he's focused on what the country needs. I think he's focused on what he needs.
He's not focused on what the country needs. He's more focused on what he needs. This perfectly summarizes why Trump's presidency will ruin the world's democratic system. He's the type of president who's more concerned with his golf handicap than the national deficit, or who spends more time tweeting from the toilet than in the Oval Office. It's like putting Darth Vader in charge of the Jedi Council, disastrous and oddly entertaining in a darkly comedic way. The world doesn't need a leader who thinks checks and balances are something you do with a bank account. Now, why do we hate him so much? And why do we think his second presidency will bring the downfall of America?
It's simply not true.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him.
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life.
19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up.
Every single thing he said is a lie.
The whole issue relating to COVID. He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you.
First up, the COVID-19 pandemic. His handling of it was slower than dial-up internet in the 90s. He downplayed the virus, promoted treatments that sounded like they came from a sci-fi movie, and he's so full of himself he argued with health experts more than a teen with their parents about curfew. Next, let's talk about democracy. Trump undermined democratic institutions like a wrecking ball in a glass factory. Remember when he refused to accept the 2020 election results and incited the January 6th Capitol riot? Yeah, not exactly a page from the How to Be a Good Leader handbook. And then there's the environment. He rolled back environmental regulations faster than you can say global warming and pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement. It's like he thought the planet had a spare. Economic inequality? Trump gave big tax cuts to the wealthy and corporations, while the middle and working classes got crumbs. He's literally what Robin Hood's evil twin would be like. Foreign policy? Oh boy, where do we start? Withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord and the Iran nuclear deal, cozying up to dictators, it's almost like he wants to join their club. He's like an impressionable 5-year-old, mimicking the bad words he hears from the adults, thinking it's cool. And of course, the impeachments. Trump is the only U.S. president to be impeached twice. It's like he was trying to set a new high score in a game nobody wants to play. The first was for his dealings with Ukraine, and the second for inciting the Capitol riot. Quite the resume builder, right? Like, this is the guy who got convicted for 34 felonies, which is more than the average number of felonies for a president. 0. How is he anywhere near American politics with that form of criminal records? Does morality melt when it comes to wealth? A convicted felon is not allowed to work in the White House, but a convicted felon is allowed to run for president? How does this make sense? What is this hypocrisy? The presidential debate. Trump's sections throughout the whole debate were just embarrassing, like trying to perform a magic trick with a rubber chicken. Awkward, and everyone knows it's not going to work. Sure, Biden didn't look good at all, but Trump's answers raised more eyebrows than votes. He seemed more like a procrastinating student with a pop quiz, scrambling for any answer that sounded remotely plausible. Cue the vague statements, deflections, and lies. His responses and statements were getting fact-checked on real time.
You used the word smart.
So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country.
Which led to several embarrassing moments where he was caught spreading misinformation. His responses were like a game of whack-a-mole. Every time a fact popped up, he tried to hammer it down with another wild claim. He's like a clown who forgot his lines in his own circus.
I'm the one that brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it.
Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars,
So
yes.
not 750?
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you, I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is.
Another reason why he bombed at the debate was his inability to present detailed policy plans. It was like he showed up to a cooking competition without any ingredients, just a lot of hot air and a vague promise of the best dish ever.
But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
Sure. Stand back and stand by.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, are you in favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow it.
Are you in favor of law and order? Go
yes,
ahead,
I'm in
say
favor.
You asked a question, let him finish.
Law and order.
Law and order.
Let him answer.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly.
Protect
Mr.
people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer
Go
your
ahead.
question.
His constant interruptions and aggressive behavior didn't exactly win him points either. It was less presidential debate and more a toddler's tantrum in the toy aisle. You could almost hear the audience collectively sighing, "Can we please just have a civil conversation?" Trump treated critical issues like they were hot potatoes, dodging questions on climate change, healthcare, and economic inequality faster than a toddler avoids bedtime. Viewers were left scratching their heads, wondering if they accidentally tuned into a rerun of Whose Line Is It Anyway?, where the rules are made up and the policies don't matter. Seriously, it was like watching a sitcom where the lead character forgets their lines and starts ad-libbing poorly. Poll results. A Morning Consult survey put Biden 1 percentage point ahead of the presumed GOP presidential nominee, despite several post-debate surveys showing an increase in support for him. Biden was at 45% and Trump was at 44% in the poll taken on Friday. 95% of voters in the most recent presidential election stated they lean Democratic, 47%, or Republican, 48%, and that they identify as such. In a different survey, 37% of voters said they voted more against their candidate's opponent than for them. The election was likewise extremely close. By an average of just 14,306 votes, Biden prevailed in the 3 most tight states. The latest presidential election, a whopping 95% of voters identified as Democratic, 47%, or Republican, 48%. Interestingly, 37% of voters confessed they were more about voting against the other guy than for their own candidate, proving that sometimes politics is less about love and more about anyone but them. And let's not forget how razor-thin the margins were. Biden managed to squeak by in the 3 tightest states with an average lead of just 14,306 votes, about the same number of people who get lost in IKEA on a Saturday afternoon. Even if the margin is thin, would you rather pick a pathological liar or an old guy who had a bad day, but still actually answered the questions? I feel like the choice is clear. Old Joe may be showing his age, but him and his team know what they're doing enough to be way better than whatever Trump represents. The bar may be low, but it's definitely better than a reality show drama. Joe might mix up a few names now and then, but at least him and his team are steering the ship steadily, instead of setting it on fire just to watch the flames. And in a world that's craving a bit of stability, that makes a world of difference. 50% of registered voters prefer Biden, and 48% prefer Trump. So people say Biden is leading Trump by 2 points. This was the insight provided by the Fox poll. Many previous Trump voters have decided to abandon ship, like passengers on the Titanic who just spotted a lifeboat. Comparing him to the Titanic is probably an insult to the ship. Disillusioned by a presidency that felt more like a reality TV show than effective governance, they're now looking for a quieter, less problematic route. The endless drama, the late-night tweet storms, and the parade of scandals have left them yearning for a leader who doesn't treat the presidency like an episode of Survivor. Imagine having a president who doesn't feel the need to comment on everything from celebrity feuds to light bulb regulations. Even those who once proudly sported the red MAGA hats are now seeking someone who can focus on the nation's needs rather than personal vendettas and ego boosts. It's like they finally realized that leadership should involve more than catchy slogans and rally chants. The final straw for many was his performance in the latest debate, where his lies and fabrications were fact-checked in real time, leaving us cringing. It was like watching someone try to freestyle rap using a list of unrelated words. They just couldn't keep up with the truth. As the political landscape shifts, it's clear that Trump's once semi-solid base is showing cracks. Some former supporters are even admitting that they missed the days when the biggest controversy was whether the president's suit was too beige. They're ready to explore new options, hoping for a leader who brings stability and sanity to the White House. After all, the bar is now so low, it's practically subterranean. But that doesn't mean we have to settle for someone who digs it even deeper. As the political landscape evolves, it's evident that change is on the horizon. Whether you're rethinking your support or looking for leadership that prioritizes unity and progress, your voice matters. Comment down below on what qualities you value most in a leader and how you're navigating your political choices. Let's start a conversation and shape a future that reflects our collective aspirations. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more insightful discussions and updates. Let's shape the future together, one informed choice at a time.